Alright, so this is almost the end of day 2 of the 7-day roguelike challenge for 2019. I, as usual, I haven't been able to work a lot into the game, but I won't complain about that anymore. I will just share what I've been able to do so far. So, actually, I was kind of worried on day 1 because it seemed like the idea of creating this plot line dynamically was a bit beyond what I could do. But yeah, what I did, I just simplified this as much as I could, and because I think the problem was that I was trying to do like a very big increment as a second step, going from a static plot line to a generated plot line. So I was trying to incorporate a lot of things on a single increment. A lot of ideas, including that the plot line was not to be generated like from the beginning as a finished plot line, but rather as it being built along as the player was playing. So that was a bit complex, and because yeah, I don't think I mentioned this in the first video, but the idea with all this is that we are going to simulate the role of the DM, and that includes being able to change the plot line on the go, right? Instead of having like a rigid plot line that the player has to complete, it should be able, it should be possible to bend the plot line and make it adapt to the situation the player is on, as well as modify it based on what the player is doing. I think that's something that DMs do in order to make a fun role-playing session. But anyways, that may come in the future. What we have now is this. I hope this time OBS is able to record video correctly. But yeah, basically you can see here in the JavaScript console, every time I play, a new plotline is generated. All of them right now start with going to a pub. So I will enter this pub, and I met an old man. He says, "I am Lulu, Dracula killed my wife, help me avenge her." An old woman living in dark forest knows the secret to kill Dracula. So we go into the dark forest. We exit the pub and then go into the forest road, and then go into the dark forest, and we met the old woman. As you can see, this flavor text is still not being generated. That's part of the things that still gotta be done. But yeah, this old woman says that you are going to need the bright gauntlet. It can be found in Kakaki pub. That's like a fixed location. We can go there to Kakaki and to the pub. And oh well, there's something missing here. The name of the item that was found. But we found it. We can go to another pub because we ran out of hints of our leads into the quest. So we can go to the pub in Kakaki several times until we get a clue. An old woman living in the mountain knows the secret to kill Dracula. Let's go to the mountains. Mountain road, and then into the mount here. You are going to need the legendary axe. It can be found in the Kakaka graveyard, and we can go there, back to the mountain road and into Kakaki and into the forest road and into Kakaka Plaza and then into the graveyard, and we find the axe. And now we are ready to go and kill Dracula. So Dracula's castle, in order to get there you have to go to Kakaki, and then into the rocky road, Dracula's castle, Dracula's hall, and we kill Dracula. If we get here without all the items, then we die. So as you can see, well, there's two things here. The first one is the adventure is pretty simple, but still there's something at least playable. And every time you play, yeah, you basically find different people, and they make you walk around and find these different items, and then, well, face the final enemy. This can get a lot more complex. I mean, this could be like just a single adventure in a chain of adventures that leads to a final showdown or a final event or something like that. And that's one thing. The other thing is increasing the complexity of the adventure itself, adding more kind of different steps, or better disguising them into different things that are not that straightforward. Of course, the addition of better dialogue instead of being so straight, just like a first step, that's something additional. But then there's also the question of whether I will leave this in an interactive fiction format where the player is just picking where to go, or if I'm going to take this as an asset, as something that a more traditional roguelike map generator will use, and the player will move as he does in a grid-based, turn-based roguelike or something like that. I still haven't decided on that. I want to take another day, and maybe at the end of day 3 I will take a decision on that, because yeah, other thing that is important in this project is the world building, the content. So the actual locations, based on some things that I have thought, and I may probably elaborate a little bit on that later. But yeah, I think a lot of roguelikes nowadays focus on creating like these world generators, which are very complex and can create a new world with a complete history every time. That's something that traditionally roguelike developers have sought to do. But the problem is that these worlds feel like they can be very easily discarded or very quickly discarded. They don't have a lot of value to the player because they can be so easily remade. So yeah, I will probably elaborate on that later. But for this project, the world will be fixed, at least like the structure of the world, and then probably the locations may use some procedural map generation for the details, but it will be seated so that every time you play it will be the same. And what will change is the adventures or the quests that are happening inside that world. But we will see how that goes. I'm really happy with this small advancement. I was worried that it will not be doable, but at least I found out that it can be done. Basically what it's doing here is adding some items, and while those items have not been located, it adds quests to the plotline, and it is sequential, and but that may of course change too, but it makes it much more complex. And then if the activity is revealing that an item is needed, then it will put that activity on the list, and then we have one less item to locate. And then at the end we put these other two events, which are the face-off with the Bijane or boss or final boss or whatever. So yeah, and it works I think pretty well. Of course this is very early. Some simple things can be fixed, like well, having different villains or bosses. I don't know how to pronounce that. as well as different kind of goals. So maybe it's not always killing someone, but maybe finding something to save the world or something like that. Following this same linear plot line, it it's not that hard to change it, and I probably will do that before jumping into making this like more usable for the players. As you can see here, the events that are being generated: finding the old man, finding the old woman, which who tells you where the item is, so you have to go to this location to find the item. So well, everything is working. Um, yeah, that's my update for day 2, and I will see you all tomorrow.